Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us here today. And I'm with Puneet Singh of Encryption Consulting. My name is Glenn Gray. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect with AppViewX. And today we're going to be discussing considerations surrounding build or buy PKI. With that, I'll hand over to Puneet and allow him to give a voice print and introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Glenn. So, guys, my name is Puneet Singh, and I run this boutique firm called Encryption Consulting LLC. And we focus in the space of the PKI, HSM, and encryption space consulting. And as our relationship with the AppViewX goes, we does the PKI consulting piece, and AppViewX has a pretty robust platform on the certificate automation and management. That being said, I'll give it back to you, Glenn, to give a brief detail about the AppViewX.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so AppViewX is a software platform that provides automation and orchestration as well as certificate lifecycle management. Well, we're focusing on the certificate lifecycle management features in this discussion today and the partnership with Encryption Consulting. So a little bit about the AppViewX company and background. We provide low-code automation that enables NetOps, SecOps teams to support business demands and greater agility. We have several locations worldwide, 300 plus employees, and we've been around since 2010. At the end of the slide, or at the end of the presentation, we'll be answering any questions that you might have, and would be happy to respond. Also, we'll have contact information available in case you would like to follow up for continuing discussion or previewing or demonstrating the AppViewX platform. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Puneet?
Yep, thank you, Glenn. As I said, I'll give you guys a little bit of background about the encryption consulting. We are a startup, and we have been focusing in the space of the encryption, tokenization, and masking, as well as the PKI and HSMs. And we have got 30 plus Fortune 500 companies where we are doing the encryption of the PKI work. That being said, today we are going to discuss about what are the options with respect to the PKI which different organizations have, and we'll be looking at the PKI as a service, then the co-managed PKI, as well as if you run the PKI in-house. But before I get started, let's first understand that what exactly is public key infrastructure. If we talk about it in simple terms, PKI helps you get the certificates, and it's kind of a system. It's kind of a set of systems, processes necessary to issue and manage the digital identities. And PKI has been progressed a lot in the last, if you see in the last decade, the use cases which were earlier, such as just getting the certificates for the SSL or workstation authentication of the encryption, has now changed to the use cases for the cloud as well as for the IoT spaces. And normally people use the PKI for the multi-factor authentication as well, and they do also use it for the confidentiality by using it for the SSL and the email encryption. They also can achieve the data integrity using their PKI infrastructure for the use cases such as the code signing and the document signing. That being said, there has been various risks and issues which have been associated with the PKI, such as the first major thing what we have seen in the market is that people don't keep a track of the keys which are associated with the certificates, and they normally lose them, or there's always kind of somebody steals the private key of their PKI, and they can set up their own PKI on their behalf and can start issuing the certificates. Second thing what we have seen is that people do a brute force attack as well for stealing the identifications. Then where the biggest like a challenge which is eye-opening for the different organizations is that they don't have a proper automation in place. So if the certificates expires, then there are outages which are out there, and that's where like a tool like AppViewX helps you guys and automate at the endpoints and everything. But that's another risk what we have seen is that loss of a trust in the incorrectly issued certificate and loss of trust in potentially all certificate issued by that PKI. And there are some operational risk also associated with that, in the sense if you don't have a proper people trained on the PKI, then the whatever service level agreements are there, they are not met. Now, when we look at the different PKI variations options for the in-house PKI, or what I say called the internal PKI, there are three options which are available. One is that you build the PKI in-house and you have the talent or the resources in-house and you manage that PKI. Second option is that you build the PKI in-house and you use the company like Encryption Consulting, which can co-manage that PKI along with your team, so that like whenever you there's a latest update, or if your employees needs to go through the training, or if you don't want to manage the 6 months or the every quarter activities such as issuing a CRL or renewing the certificate authority, the encryption consulting can help you guys. The third option which is there, PKI as a service. In this option, normally we give the customers the option that whether they can host the PKI in their environment, and our team is going to fully manage it either in the cloud or on premises, uh, or basically they can completely outsource that work to us, and basically we'll be running the whole PKI infrastructure for them, as it becomes cumbersome and basically it becomes complex as your PKI becomes more older and basically more certificates you have issued from it. That being said, when we think of the in-house PKI, there are three things what we have to keep in mind. That whenever you're thinking that to build the PKI in-house, we can help you guys building that as well. But you need to have a dedicated in-house staff who has been trained on the PKI HSMs, how to manage the certificates and everything. And it's kind of like a big upfront investment, and you need to determine a long-term, a 3-year roadmap or something like that, how you are going to manage and everything. And it's what we have seen is that it's kind of tough to meet the expectation when you try to run the in-house PKI, because there's a lot of iterations and it's really tough to find the people who understands the PKI and the hardware security module and the certificate management solution properly. So it's, I normally recommend that it's better that if you whether you have a co-managed PKI or to go with the PKI as a service. Now, the second option, what we say is that the in-house co-managed PKI, there we kind of develop a partnership with our customer and we run their PKI. Kind of we go hand in hand with our customer and we provide kind of a yearly training to our customers. There would be a subscription where if they run, if anything breaks, basically they can call us anytime and we'll jump in and we'll fix the problem. And secondly, or if they want to outsource the tasks such as issuing the CRL of the root CA, issuing CA, looking at the configuration of the templates and everything. So in that case, basically you have a kind of a help, just a phone call away wherever you need it, or if you want an on-site presence of our consultants, that also we do in the case of the in-house managed, in-house co-managed PKI. The last option, what we suggest is that the PKI as a service, we provide PKI as a service, which is also known as the managed PKI. It's available as of right now in the Azure cloud, as well as we are provisioning it on the AWS cloud as well. And in that case, we kind of manage the whole infrastructure. We'll be responsible for setting up the root CA, issuing CA, and when we set it up, it's kind of set it up so that it meets the NIST and the FIPS standards. And so that if you down the line, if you have to go for any audit or anything like that, it's much more easy to clear those audits. And secondly, it kind of reduces the overall cost and complexity. Uh, there is no like a upfront payment, and it's more scalable. Like we can scale the PKI more easily as compared to if we do it kind of a in-house PKI. Any questions? Like means I will pass it back to you, Glenn. Do you wanna wrap it up?
Sure. So just to add onto the description and information that Puneet has shared, AppViewX can provide a managed PKI service, both fully managed as well as deploying the AppViewX software platform to manage all of your PKI assets. So the AppViewX platform can satisfy those needs if your business requires them. We can engage in a more detailed conversation. So what does that roughly entail? You may have one CA or multiple CAs. We can integrate with those CAs to automate the certificate lifecycle management features, such as generating CSRs, issuing them to the signing authority, retrieving the certificates, maintaining the inventory, establishing customized group structures, applying policies to those group structures for governance. We can communicate with endpoints where the certificates reside and automate the deployment of those certificates to the endpoints, whether they be web service instances, load balance ADC platforms, firewalls, N-based server, like IIS, Tomcat, WebLogic, Apache, any of those. And providing you with a centralized, automated, secure, FIPS compliant platform. We can even integrate with HSM platforms for more secure key management as well. So that's just a brief description of what the AppViewX platform provides in the way of either managed or build PKI certificate lifecycle management solutions. With that, if there are any questions, thoughts, any information you would like to share or that you might want to inquire about, please utilize the Q&A session. So on the Zoom meeting, you'll see in the drop-down shade, there's a Q&A or there's a chat, and you can feel free to just unmute and voice questions. So I'll pause here and allow the audience to comment. No concerns, thoughts, questions? Any challenges that any attendees are currently facing that had basically initiated their interest in looking and evaluating at either build or buy PKI solutions? Looks like we have one question here. Where do you see the industry going with respect to certificate lengths? Puneet, I'll allow you to field that one first.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Glenn, and thank you for the question. So recently, on the certificate lengths, there's a CA CAP forum is there, and they came back with a 348 days of the length of the certificate. And if I remember it correctly, few weeks back, Apple has announced that they would support 1-year certificate. And I feel that that's a 1-year certificate lifetime is pretty good, and that's where I see the industry going, so that the keys are rotated quite frequently. And the reason for being that is that the more longer the key is in existence, the more chances are there that it will get compromised. So if you're rotating the keys once in a year, that would be a pretty good practice. And that's where the key length or the certificate length is going, basically from the lifetime perspective. And from the algorithm perspective, uh, people are still using the RSA. The reason for that is that entities are still not able to consume the high-end algorithms such as elliptic curve cryptography and others. Glenn, do you want to add anything?
And that's been a similar observation from the AppViewX vantage point as well. Most of the well-used browser instances like Firefox, Chrome, the Apple browser are now not trusting certificates with lifetimes exceeding 12 months. We also have more proliferation of free certificate authority instances like Encrypt Now, the deployment of IoT devices where in some cases these are very short-lived certificate identities. They may be tied to devices, appliances, technologies that are meant to only be in effect for shorter periods of time, whether it be a week, 30 days. I know we have a customer that utilizes health monitoring devices where they're highly consumable. You know, they're sent to the consumer, and once it is connected to, it's for measuring and monitoring biofeedback mechanisms, but it's a battery-powered device that only is available, usable for approximately 30 days. So, you know, those types of applications, you're seeing shorter and shorter use case for lifetime. So certainly you don't want to apply 2-year, 5-year. Now, when it comes to intermediate and root, you certainly want to guard those systems much more closely and not have online root certificate key instances. You typically want to have offline or protecting them within HSM platforms, but those are going to be much more lengthy, 10-year, potentially even longer, as it's much more involved with managing the overall PKI infrastructure when it comes to root and intermediate.
Just want to add one more thing to Glenn's point here, that when I talked about 1-year certificates, those were for the SSL certificates. I would just want to make it very clear that those were for the SSL certificates, and like the use cases which was really like a good, basically, which Glenn brought up was with respect to the IoT. So when I say SSL 1 year, and then basically for the IoT, it depends, as Glenn just described.
So there's another question that appeared. What do you see with devices that have difficulties connecting to the network on a regular basis? Our application is related to farming equipment. Let me respond to that really quickly. So, you know, an application there that I've seen, or a use case scenario, might be RFA devices, something like that, where you have even passport-related items where a identity is embedded on a device that is not by nature network attached. It's a common use case, quite frankly, that the technology of identity as you know, digital identities and digital certificates and digital transformation overall is more prolific throughout many industries across the board. Not just IT per se, but as you know, brick and mortar and every type of business application that you can think of. starts to utilize more of information technologies to enhance, expand, and meet customer needs and new features, things like that, that yes, you can apply a certificate instance which acts as digital identity for a resource, and by nature, it's just not connected to a network infrastructure. However, when it comes into registering, checking in the device, gathering data off of it, whether it's a heart rate monitor type thing, an appliance, farm equipment, things like that, it's going to come back in and then transfer information, but you'll need to identify that the item is authentic through certificates and PKI. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, well, that seems to be all the questions that we're receiving so far. So let's wrap up. And again, the slide being presented right now contains contact information for both myself as well as Puneet. I'll add to this that the appviewx.com website also has a lot more information about the AppViewX platform, and the general email contact point is info@appviewx. Of course, if you go to the website, you'll be invited to engage in a chat session in case you have any questions that you want to direct to a online agent. But with that, I'll hand it back over to Puneet, and I just want to say thank you again to everyone for joining.